Hey everybody, I'm Samurai Sam, and today I'm looking at my collection for the original Xbox. Now, I enjoyed the Xbox a lot when I first got it in 2004, and even before that when I played it at my friends' houses and my cousin's house. It's a good console, good first console for Microsoft, and it being the most powerful of the three main consoles of that generation, it's my system of choice to get multi-platform games most of the time, so I really appreciate it for that reason. Usually get better graphics, better load times, and such, and the Xbox Controller S is really good. We don't talk about the Duke. So here we go. Without further ado, let's start going through these games here. We've got Advent Rising, and the main reason I have this game is because the guy who did the music was Tommy Tallarico, who is a guy who's from my area, and I went to a local video games live concert when he was in town, and he played music from this game and talked about it a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, this game's cheap, I should probably pick it up, because it's a Tommy Tallarico game. That's basically the reason why I have that. I can't really tell you that much about the game, really. Like, I know I'll try it sometime, but... Aggressive Inline. This is one of those extreme sports games that is inspired by Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and apparently this is a really good one, but, I haven't played it too much. I fired it up and I'm like, yeah, this definitely feels like Tony Hawk. But that's pretty much all I can say about it. I mean, obviously you're not skateboarding, you're using rollerblades, but kind of the same idea. You've got All-Star Baseball 2004. I like baseball and baseball games generally. I actually haven't played this one too much. I remember playing like All-Star Baseball 2003 or 2, I want to say, on the GameCube, and I remember not liking it that much, but I don't know, I probably just didn't understand it or something. I'll probably play this more at some point. Interesting how like Derek Jeter was like always on the cover of these games, whereas most other franchises use a different player every year. Yeah, obviously I respect Derek Jeter, but I'm a Red Sox fan. There's a filthy Yankee. Maybe that's why I've never really played All-Star Baseball that much. Arena Football. I haven't played this too much, but I thought it was interesting. Like, I've never really watched Arena Football either, but it's kind of intriguing to have like a football game with like different rules. It's kind of interesting that they made a game out of it. So at some point, I am genuinely interested in trying this out and seeing like what I think of the whole Arena Football thing. Here's a game that I actually have played extensively. This is Beyond Good and Evil. This was one of those games that was very critically acclaimed and had like a cult following, but didn't really sell all that well. And this game is kind of, I guess I'd call it an action game generally, like vaguely Zelda-ish, but not really that Zelda-ish. Some stealth sections, some action sections, some vehicle driving and even combat and stuff, and some like photography and all that stuff. And there's like a whole storyline that goes along with it. And I thought it was pretty good. I had kind of high expectations going in. It didn't quite reach my expectations. Maybe part of it is because I just played it so many years later after it came out. But it's a good game, but I wouldn't call it essential personally. But maybe check it out, if you read about it and it sounds good to you. Broken Sword, the Sleeping Dragon. It's Broken Sword games are like adventure games, kind of PC style most of the time, where like you have to kind of like it's very story driven. You have to like solve a lot of puzzles and kind of figure out how to progress. One note about this game is that this game has multiple languages on it. I found out because I'm learning Spanish and like I changed my language to Spanish. Most original Xbox, most games from this generation don't have multiple language options, so it's kind of cool. Like you have the full dub on here in another language and everything. That's kind of neat. I've never played the Broken Sword games, by the way. I just know what they are. Burnout 3 Takedown. This is a fun racing game, and it's not as realistic as you might think from the well, I mean, it doesn't look that realistic on the front cover, honestly, but like it's a very unrealistic racing game. Like kind of. Basically, there's a lot of mechanics for like when you crash your car, you can like control it and try to cause as much destruction as possible. And there's like Turbo, which is kind of reminds me of F-Zero actually. And yeah, it's a fun arcade style game. Unfortunately, I made some decent progress in this game, and my file got erased because there was one point where I accidentally like erased all my Xbox save data like an idiot. So I don't know if I'll actually like go through the single player campaign ever again, but I definitely had some fun with my time in this game. Some people really love this game. I mean, I wouldn't call this like one of my like top 5 favorite Xbox games or anything, or games of this generation, but yeah, it's a fun racing game. If you like racers, check it out. Capcom Classics Collection. This is an excellent disc. I love discs like these, compilations of old school games. You got some like really popular ones on here, like Ghosts and Goblins and like Ghouls and Ghosts, and I just said 2 games from the same series. You have Street Fighter 2 on here, and like 1942, and Gunsmoke, and Final Fight, and some lesser known stuff like Mercs and like Sun, and I just really like stuff like this. And you got some extras on the disc and everything. And it's just really cool to have all those arcade games on this one disc. And of course, there's a second one. I already talked about that in the PlayStation 2 video that I did, because the Xbox version of that game is quite expensive and kind of rare. Here's Capcom versus SNK2 EO. This is probably the best version overall of this game. This is, of course, as it sounds, a crossover between mostly Street Fighter. There's like one Darkstalkers character and King of Fighters from SNK, and yeah, it's done very well. Like there's a lot of different like fighting styles and modes you can do. Lots of different characters. For the time, it was like a very big roster, like more than most other games that you'd see at that time. And got this wonky control scheme where like you can use the right analog stick to instantly do any special move without the button input. So like those complicated button inputs like are suddenly not a big deal, and so you can be really cheap that way. And yeah, it's a fun game. Definitely recommend it if you like fighting games. Here is the lone Castlevania game on Xbox, Castlevania Curse of Darkness. This is not much like the classic Castlevania games. This is more like a 3D Devil May Cry kind of game, and I can't say that much more about it because I haven't really played it. But at some point, I will try it. I'm saying that a lot, like, I've been saying that through the series of this video, but this year, because of the pandemic, I have gotten to a lot of the games that I have said I would get to someday a lot sooner than I thought I was going to because, I have a lot more spare time. So it's been fun. Cell Damage, this is a car combat game, kind of like Twisted Metal. This is one of the earliest cel-shaded graphics kind of games. And I played some of the multiplayer of this. I haven't tried the single-player campaign, but it's pretty fun. I can't say, like, that it's better than Twisted Metal from what I've played, yeah, I honestly haven't played this one a whole lot, so I can't give, like, a proper review. But, decent, like, game if you got, like, a friend or something to play with. This is 4-player? Yeah, it's 4-player, good. So yeah, it's probably a good like party game. Circus Maximus. Speaking of Tommy Tallarico, on his show Judgment Day with Victor Lucas, he talked about this game every now and again as one of his favorite like underrated, overlooked games. And I think this is like a racing game with like some combat elements in it. And I think this got kind of mixed reviews, but there are some people who really like it, and it seems like kind of a unique game, so I picked it up for cheap. Basically, almost everything on the Xbox is cheap, or at least was. It's probably changing a little bit, but for a long time, Xbox games, on the most part, were like really dirt cheap. So like basically, if I had any interest in anything, I would just like grab it when I saw it. So yeah, this is one game that wasn't actually that cheap. Conquer Live and Reloaded. Now this is a full-on remake of Conquer's Bad Fur Day for the N64, which is honestly one of my guilty pleasure games. A lot of like kind of toilet humor and just like vulgarity and done kind of like in one of those adult animated cartoon kind of ways, and very funny. Even though I'm not usually into really that kind of humor, this one is kind of interesting. One interesting choice they did with this one is that they censored like all of the potentially vulgar words, whereas the N64 version, some of them weren't. So like there's more censorship in this version. Surprisingly, who's calling Nintendo Kitty now? But and I remember before this came out, people were saying they weren't going to censor any of it, so they completely did a 180. And they completely redid the multiplayer in this one, which I've never really played, unfortunately. Graphics are actually quite good and kind of unique, actually. Like I don't know, kind of hard to describe, but very vibrant, colorful game. And very memorable. And I'd say I'd probably prefer the 64 version, but that version's good too. Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. I can't say too much about this one. I played a lot of the first Crazy Taxi, but haven't really played the second one or this one for that matter. So, I mean, I like Crazy Taxi. It's arcade style game where you drive around the city and try to bring passengers to their destinations as fast as possible before time runs out. I don't know how much they fiddled with the formula in this one. They probably did a little bit. At some point, I will try it and see what I think. We got 4 games here that I'm just kind of going to grab all together. Let's see if I can hold them all up. See if you can guess what I'm talking about when I say 4 games that start with a letter early in the alphabet. You've got the Dance Dance Revolution Ultra Mix series. I happen to really like DDR, and these are pretty solid Dance Dance Revolution games. I think at least one, if not all of these, have some kind of like elaborate single-player campaign. But honestly, most of the time when I play DDR, I just fire it up and just go to free select and just play whatever song I feel like and try to beat my score if there is one. So yeah, happy to have all these. Got them for really cheap. Got a couple of them from GameStop from almost literally nothing when they were liquidating their Xbox games. And I have a dance pad that works with it, and fun games. Here is Death Row. This is a non-traditional sports game, and I think it's kind of I think the goal of the game is, kind of one of those get the ball into the other person's goal kind of things. And this is one of the earlier games to use like a lot of cuss words, so that's a thing. Yeah, this game's violent and like there's like punching and there's like no fouls or anything. This is like one of those games where like you beat the other team up and stuff. And apparently this game's really good. I haven't played it too much, but I will at some point. I kind of like non-traditional sports games, so it interests me. Here's two that I'm going to pull out together. We have Destroy All Humans 1 and 2. I think these are kind of Grand Theft Auto inspired games. Very humorous, cartoony games where you're an alien and you're like taking over the world and the earth and stuff. And they're very silly, apparently, from what I've seen. I haven't played them too much, but yeah, I like games with a sense of humor, and these two have them. So at some point I will spend some more time with them and see what I really think of them on the whole. Here is Eggmania Eggstream Madness. This is a game that involves you playing as an egg, and you are trying to like jump to the top and get to the top of the stage as fast as possible. I think you're usually, if not always, going up against like an opponent, whether that be your friend or the computer, and you're trying to like build like a stack of blocks, if I remember right, and try to get to the top. Like I played some of this with a buddy of mine a few years ago, and we had some fun with it. I'm not too sure how good the single player is, but at some point I will give it more of a shot. But yeah, this is one that's probably worth considering and rather unique, if I may say so. Here is ESPN NFL 2K5. This is really probably one of the best football games ever made, and it's dirt cheap. It came out at $20, and so Madden, the makers of Madden, were so upset that they like literally were able to secure the rights after this, so that the 2K series wasn't able to continue. They didn't have the license anymore, so this is the last one. And yeah, it's just really good. Like there's a great presentation, ESPN presentation, and different modes you can play. And there's really solid gameplay, good commentary. It's just pretty much everything you'd want in a football game, probably. Yeah, it's sad to see the 2K series go. I wish it were still going. Fusion Frenzy. This is a game that I played with family a lot back in the day. A couple of my cousins had this game and played it a lot, and we had some good times with it. Our favorite game was Twisted System. Basically, there's a whole bunch of mini games that all last usually for like 1 to 2 minutes long, and probably not worth getting just to play single player. But if you have friends, this is definitely one that's worth checking out, in my opinion. There's a lot of variety here, and just good fun time. Here is Gladius. This is a strategy game set in, looks like some kind of ancient, I want to say Greek or Roman. I don't want to say one or the other because I don't want to be wrong. I think it's Greek. But yeah, kind of a strategy game. I don't know how RPG-ish it is, but it's a tactical game, and apparently it's really good. It's multi-platform. Of course, I usually go for the Xbox version, and it looks like there's multiplayer too, which is interesting. I wonder how that works. But yeah, I definitely intend to play this game at some point. Yeah, the term RPG is on the back of the box, so I guess there's RPG elements. Yeah, at some point I'll try it and see if it's still worth picking up today. Ooh, here is the big one that I'm sure you've been waiting for, is Halo Combat Evolved. Obviously, this game, if you were around in the early 2000s, this game was an absolute phenomenon. People were nuts about this game. This was the killer app that put Xbox on the map. First-person shooters have never really been my thing. I did play this game, though, quite a bit because, it's so popular. Anyone who had an Xbox had it. And I was never really that good at it, so I didn't like really love it as much as everybody else did. I did actually play a decent amount of the PC version, which I would say is better than the Xbox version because they just added more content, they added online play, and the controls are probably a little better with the mouse and keyboard. So that would be my version of choice. But I like Halo. I'm not like nuts about it. I have never really played through the campaign either. So at some point, actually, I'll probably when I try the campaign eventually, I'll probably play the Xbox 360 remake rather than this version. And then you can probably guess what's coming up next. It's Halo 2. I did actually play some of the campaign of this one. I made it kind of far, but again, my data got wiped. So, this one lets you play as like the, what do you call them? The other race there, the aliens. I'm forgetting what they're called, but this one adds like a lot of new weapons and some. You got dual wielding and obviously a bunch of different maps and stuff. And I enjoyed this game. Played a lot of multiplayer, and it's fun. I'm not sure which one I would say I like more than the one or two. I'd have to really play them, play more of them to like really determine that. Halo game I actually played the most is Reach, which I will be talking about in a future episode. Good game, obviously. Or it was like I think it was like those are the two best-selling Xbox games. Of course, they're like good and like popular and stuff. You probably don't need any introduction. Indigo Prophecy. This is a story-driven kind of pick-your-own-path kind of game. Although I think I've heard people say that like choosing your path, it doesn't affect the story as much as the game would like you to believe. I believe this is kind of a predecessor to Heavy Rain on PS3. I think it's from the same people, I want to say. I'm not really sure how much I like it. I'm sure it just depends on how much I'm going to like the story when I eventually try it. And fun fact, the European version of the game, if I'm not mistaken, is uncensored. So if censorship is something you don't like, then yeah, you might want to mod your Xbox and import that. Or if you live in Europe, just buy the game normally. It's also called Fahrenheit in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if anyone here in Europe is watching me, but if you are, hey, greetings from across the pond. Here is Lynx 2004. This is a golf game, and apparently a pretty good one. I've played like one round with a friend, I think, or something like that, and it seems solid. It's golf. I mean, I think they did it pretty good. I can't say extensively, but, I kind of like golf games, so that's in the collection. And here is Madden 2005. This was like the peak of Madden quality, probably. Or like maybe in a few years they maybe made it even better. But this was a very good Madden game. And the only negative thing really I'll say about it is that I'm not really a fan of Al Michaels' commentary in this game. I think I just said this in the PS2 episode actually because I have this on PS2. I like Al Michaels in real life commenting on football, but in this game it just sounds too robotic and not genuine enough. And that's one reason why I guess if I had to take one or the other, I think I'd take ESPN NFL 2K5 over that one. Mega Man Anniversary Collection. So this is actually the way that I played most of the old school Mega Man games. So it contains like basically enhanced ports of the first 8 games for the most part. And like the first 6 Mega Man games on NES got like enhanced ports on the PS1, and then this one I think has like the features that were on those ports, like the hints and stuff, and the updated soundtracks, which are optional, by the way. The biggest gripe about this game, which I think is legitimate, is that you can't really change the controls freely. So like you can't have like a original button layout that like in the original games. Also, they used a PS1 version of Mega Man 8 instead of the Saturn version, which is better. So that's unfortunate. But I mean, it's still like a good compilation, great value. I mean, for the most part, the games are intact. I really appreciate this compilation. Probably not worth getting anymore with the Legacy collections out, but maybe they are. Maybe there's some features in this one and bonuses that make this one worth seeking out. I don't think this one's too expensive still, so excuse me. I don't think this one probably won't set you back very much. So if you find it, pick it up. Also, it's worth noting that the PS2 and the GameCube versions have like different extras, I think. So maybe that's worth looking into, like which version has the extras that you want. Here is Metal Arms Glitch in the System. This is like a third-person shooter, and I think it's got a pretty decent sense of humor too. And I can't say too much about it because I've barely played it. But at some point I will. I've owned it for like 13 years, and I still haven't played it. Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance. This is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. Follow up to Metal Gear Solid 1 on PS1, obviously, which was a big hit and like really revolutionized or really set a new bar for storytelling in video games. And this one like just lived up to it perfectly. And the gameplay is so much fun. I just love playing this game. And they added a whole bunch of VR missions in here, which take like a few dozen hours to complete. And for someone like me who just really loves playing this game, that's really awesome bonus content. I can't say enough about Metal Gear Solid 2. It's like one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. Great story, great gameplay, just fires on all cylinders. Just like if you haven't played it, what are you waiting for? Played MGS1 first, of course, but you got to play Metal Gear Solid 2. Midway Arcade Treasures, another one of those arcade compilation discs, and this one has a lot of good, really quality games on it. You got like Smash TV, you got Rampart, you've got like Gauntlet and Defender, and just all kinds of games on here. Tapper, and just good value. I'm not sure if this is still like the best compilation disc to get for these Midway games, but I mean, I know I'm sure it's still pretty darn cheap. But you probably get it for like $5. And it's totally worth that. So, if you like old school games, pick it up. And then this one I like even more. It's Midway Arcade Treasures 2. I was really excited when this first came out because this was the first time we ever got like arcade perfect home ports, or at least pretty much arcade perfect. Vastly improved home ports of Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, which I was so excited about. That was like in the peak of my Mortal Kombat, fanaticism back then. So I was really, really excited to pick this up, and it didn't disappoint. You got a lot of other cool games on here too. Like there's a game called Timber on here, which is like a really neat little game that I had never heard of. And you got like Zybots and Championship Sprint and Pit Fighter, which is not that great of a game, but a lot of really cool stuff from like mostly like the 90s, but probably some 80s here too. But this is when we feel like our arcade games. This one's like a must buy. You have to have that. MLB Slugfest 2006. This is the last game in that series. Arcade baseball game with it's very unrealistic. All kinds of like crazy powers and like actual like beating up the other team and stuff, and really wacky announcing commentary. And I want to love this game. The little I played of it, it was just a little bit too hard to hit. Like just offense was really difficult. Just because there's like so much stuff that the pitcher can do that's just like really outlandish, and it's like how are you supposed to like score at all? But maybe it's just because I haven't played the game that much. But yeah, I got this for like $1, so I'm happy about that. And at some point I'll probably like really try and learn this game and like actually succeed in doing well. Mojo. This is a puzzle-solving game about like I think rolling a ball around and changing the colors of the blocks and stuff. And I enjoy puzzle games, so I picked this game up when I found it for cheap. And at some point I will play it more, so I can give you a more proper review. Here's Mortal Kombat Deception. This was a game that I was really hyped for. Again, this is the time where I was like really at my peak Mortal Kombat excitement. So I remember like getting news about this game online a lot. I was on a forum for Mortal Kombat at the time, and like whenever stuff would come out, info on this game, I was all over it. And it added an extensive single-player conquest mode, and it has other modes like kart race. Wait, was kart racing kart racing was the next one? No, Puzzle Combat was the one that they added in this game. And online play is the first one with online play, and I had a lot of fun with it when it came out. Nowadays, I find it a little harder to go back to. Like, just the combat is just not up to snuff with a game like Soul Calibur 2, in my opinion. Unfortunately, but it's still a fun game. It's definitely a lot better than Deadly Alliance. And the GameCube version actually is probably the version to get. But this here, the collector's edition, also known as the Premium Pack on PS2, comes with a bonus disc that has basically an Arcade Perfect MK1 on there, which is the main reason to get it. And that was something I was really excited for back then, and that didn't disappoint. So definitely a one worth getting, I think, if you like Mortal Kombat. Probably not if otherwise, but here's one, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. This is probably the best Mortal Kombat spin-off game they ever made. This is like an action game, kind of like, I don't know what to compare it to, like, just kind of like a 3D beat 'em up, I guess I'd say. And you play as either Liu Kang, no, you play as Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and I think you can unlock a couple characters too, and like use special moves and stuff. And you basically play out the plot, I think, between the first game and the second game. And it's pretty cool. Another game where I made a decent amount of progress, but then my data's gone, so I'm gonna have to start this one over. But I definitely plan to do that at some point because I do like Mortal Kombat a lot, and I don't know why I've waited so many years. Why didn't I play this like right back in the day? But yeah, I will play it again at some point. Definitely worth it if you like the series. Ooh, here's a good one. MVP Baseball 2005. This game is a widely regarded as one of the best baseball games of all time and still played pretty regularly to this day. I think modded. Unfortunately, this is the last game in the, at least the last game in the MVP series that had the MLB license. Yeah, I got this like right when I was like entering the peak of my baseball fandom. So I played, I don't even want to know how many hours I played this. I played this probably for like hundreds of hours. This might be like in the top 5 of games I've spent the most time into. And I actually haven't played it that much as an adult. But boy, when I was a teenager, I played this game to absolute death. And yeah, it's really good. Good gameplay, good modes, good commentary, just good everything. So yeah, if you like baseball games at all, this is one to consider. And gotta love having Manny Ramirez on the cover. One of my Red Sox from the... this was made right after the Red Sox won the World Series for the first time in 86 years, so this game kind of celebrates the Red Sox a little bit, and that's really awesome. We're about halfway through and 23 minutes in. I think I'm going to call the video there. The next video, we will go through over the second half of my original Xbox library. I'm Samurai Sam. Thanks for watching. Look forward to that. Have a great rest of your day.